When the next wave started out in the field, and I said field, it didn't start in Washington, D.C., we immediately knew it was a program whose time had come. We knew we had to make our union more powerful across the board. We knew we had to link arms with new and younger members so that you're part of all of our fights. Next wave is not only about building our union, it's about recommitting ourselves to AFSCME's core beliefs in solidarity, in economic and social justice. You know, solidarity and justice are more important today than ever. What we do on a wide range of issues will determine what kind of America your children and grandchildren will inherit. We've really been tested this year, haven't we? We've been tested from coast to coast by politicians who don't just want to break us, they just don't want to break us. They want to take us out of the game completely. Why? Because we're the last line of defense for working families. Radical politicians have used the recession to undercut collective bargaining and force working families to make all the sacrifices. What's just as bad, they've demonized teachers, firefighters, police officers, social workers, food safety inspectors, and all the people who are the heart and the soul of our communities. You know, it's bad enough that politicians have joined the greedy CEOs in declaring war on workers, and they want to take away our voice on the job. But they're also trying to take away our voice in the voting booth. Add it all up. Add all of this up, and it's clear that we are experiencing one of the most blatant power grabs this country has ever known. Sisters and brothers, next waivers, somebody's got to confront these inequities. Somebody's got to say this land is our land too, and you can't take it away. Somebody's got to say we have fought too hard and too long to let you steal our rights and our dignity away from us. Somebody's got to stand up and fight. Stand up and fight for the future. It's got to be AFSCME. It's got to be the next wave. It's got to be every single one of us. Next wave, are you ready?
Lee Saunders said to me, Reverend, we're going to see some dark days, and it's time for the civil rights community and the labor community to come back together, because those that are going to fight to turn back the clock on civil rights are going to do the same with labor rights. First of all, what you need to understand is that what you are doing goes back to the beginning of the struggles for democracy in this country. The problem is not the deficit. The problem is not the budget. The problem is that there's a battle in this country between those that want to own the country and those that want to operate for a democratic principle of collectivism in the country. Well, what happened in 2010, what has happened with the Tea Party, is that they have resurrected the states' rights movement. So if they can get the national government out of protecting labor rights, protecting marriage equality, protecting immigration, protecting civil rights, they go back to a states' rights movement, because if they can break us off and divide us, they can win it state by state, and they can play on our division, because they know that if we are all together, they can't beat us. They can only beat us if they pick us off one at a time. It was young people that sat in and did the sit-ins in the 60s and broke down segregation, called the Freedom Riders. It was students that stopped the war in Vietnam. The history of this country is young people-led movements. You cannot be afraid to use your youth and your energy and your creativity and your courage to stand up right now. Here you are in the age of cell phones and Blackberries and Facebook and Twitter. all kinds of stuff. You got more ways of reaching more people. The question is whether you have the will and the courage and the guts to stand up and do it.
Why isn't there a national campaign to instill or enact collective bargaining just across all 50 states?
What we've got to concentrate on is defending our rights at the state level, and what we're doing in Wisconsin and Ohio. I mean, you heard President McEnany talk yesterday where we needed 230,000 signatures to get on the ballot in November for the referendum. We've got 1.3 million. I mean, that's where we've got to make our voices heard. And I think the battle really is at the state level right now. It's not in D.C.
My question is, what issues would you like to see additional support on from an administration that most of us in this room worked to help elect?
The reality is that for years, the right wing said people out there marching are troublemakers and get out of the streets. And people did. And then the Tea Party got out the streets. They're out there, we're not. We need to be out there. We have more reason to be out there than anybody, and I think that strengthens the president.
It's hard for us to keep pushing for Democrats, and then when they get in office, they're doing the same thing like the Republicans.
I think that we've got to think about participating ourselves in the political process. And I think that we've got to go after both Republican and Democrats. If they're coming after us, we've got to go after them. No question.
My question is, I'm very distraught at the youth because we're trying to get them active and they have lost hope. I needed your advice. How can we get the fire under them?
I think that we cannot be silent. We can't sit on our hands. I mean, that's why we're in, I think, some of this mess right now, where a lot of us sat on our hands in November during the vote, during those elections, thinking that, nothing was going to change, that these folks really weren't serious about coming after us. And they are, and they want to kill us. We have got to be as vocal as we can be. We've got to stand up. We have got to be loud. We've got to be boisterous. We have got to continue to talk to our peers and to our neighbors and our friends and our allies, and we've got to tell them and ask a simple question. What kind of country do you want to live in?